And I'm a member, in fact, I'm captain of the Tiny Pandora design team this year. And today's video is going to be a beginning beading video to make a necklace. And the easiest way to start is to buy a kit of beads that all match, and that way it takes out the question of what matches and what goes together and everything else. And you can add polymer clay beads to it. This is the necklace I'm going to show you how to make. And it's peacock beads on here. And all of the beads except for the dark blue ones came in the kit. The gold ones I had also. But I made the little polymer clay beads. And this is done with the beads and blend kit, which I'm going to show you. And I just did a scanner blend. There's just 3 homemade beads on here. And the rest of them are all put together from the kit, and it has a toggle clasp on the back. So that's what we're going to be making today. So stay tuned and let's get started. I just want to make a simple necklace today. And we have so many beginners that they're always asking, I can't get inspired, what can I do? And I want to show you something really simple that's really cool. And it can be done in a half a day or less. So if you need like a gift real quick or something, you can do this. Here's some beads I got several years ago. And I liked them because I love peacocks. So what I'm going to do, and here's some darker blue. These are all metallic and they're not really shiny. So I think I'm going to finish the beads I make to go with these with the matte, super matte, shine free sealer from Tiny Pandora. And that gives sort of a matte satin sheen. And if you want more matte, then you can bake it in the oven and it becomes more matte. So this is a quite new product from Tiny Pandora and it's fabulous. It's air dry, so you don't need any lights or anything to cure it. So I'm going to add these little darker blue beads to go with the darker blue and the peacock beads. And I'm going to add gold beads as all of my filler beads. And the only other thing I really need to do this entire necklace with, this is the smallest triangle template from Tiny Pandora that goes with the beads and blends kit. So I took my clay and I mixed up colors to match the beads, the main beads, the blues and oranges and the golds in here and the olive green beads. And made a skinner blend, and I made it really long so I could put this on there and use this as a template to cut it, and then I'll show you how I rolled them up and did it, and it's real simple. I made a long skinner blend. I just want several beads out of this, so I didn't want to really use all the larger skinner blend I have. And I'm going to cut with, I put my beads and blend triangle on here. And I'm going to cut them, some with the blue pointed ends, so when I roll them up, they've got a blue end, and some of them with the olive green end. And you've got to break. Here's my Skinner blend. Here's my triangle. I'm going to roll it up on the little rod that comes with the kit. I'm going to put it on there straight. I'm going to watch how I roll it. You can see the different blends going into the rolled bead. And how big your bead turns out is how thick your clay is rolled out and how long you make it. So this was rolled out on a number 3. And I made it all the way to the end, the full length of this triangle. So let me move it down a little bit because this time I want a green end. And the blue will be in the center. And I just laid that one cut edge up against one side of the triangle. And I've got that one cut out here. And I'm going to lay this one up against that edge. So you're only cutting one edge at a time. Okay, this one is my blue whitest end. And we'll set it on there straight as possible. And roll it right out. Get that little piece off of there. Now you can see the difference. I've got the green and the gold and orangey color on the inside of this one coming out to the blue, and on this one I've got the blue on the inside coming out to the green. And I had enough to do 4. I'm going to put these on here. I'm going to put them on my bead baking rack, and I will bake them at 275. This is mainly Primo. I think there is some Ceranet metallics in here. And I am going to cut off the little ends and make them straight because I think I want to put a little jewel or something on there just to give it a little bit of sparkle. This is another one with blue on the inside, going to the olive green. I'll cut it off right there. And these will be ready to bake. I am going to, you can see right here, Clean that one up a little bit. And that's all there is to it. These are ready to bake. I'll bake them for 30 minutes and then we'll be back. Let's see what these are going to look like. With the beads. I wanted to keep my design in the original bead. Then here's my blue ones. And the green ones. And the dark green ones. So you can see the colors fairly match up for quite well. So like I said, we'll get these baked and we'll be back to string it all up. Here's my beads already baked, and I baked them on the metal tube that comes with the beads and bling kit. And I put my little stands. These are actually bead pins that comes with the Sculpey bead kit. And it has the triangle ends on it. And you can set this on your baking tray and bake them right like that. It makes it real simple. I also put some little rhinestones in there. I took my smallest of my, let me get it here, my etch and pearl tool. This is a Sculpey tool. I put a little hole in there. This little end on the smallest one actually fits these little crystals, and these are the ones with the triangle backs on them, and they're glass, so they will bake. And I'm going to pop them out and bake the beads with them in there. I'm going to pop them out, and you can see the little hole right there that it left. And I'm going to put my finish on these beads, let it dry, and then I'll super glue those back in before I put the final coat on here. But that way I already know where they're going to go, and there's a little hole for them to sit in. And after I super glue them in there, they're not going to come out. When I put these beads on this rod before I baked it, I gave them a little turn to make sure that they were not stuck to the metal. So when they baked, I could get them off of here quite easily. So I'm going to leave the beads on the tube, and I'm going to put my matte sealer on it while it's on the metal rod, and while they are on, I'll put these back on there and set them up and let them dry. It doesn't take very long at all for these to dry. I like to use a soft, bigger brush to put this shine-free, this is a matte shine-free finish on. That's what I'm using, and it only takes a little. And you just dip your brush in. And I found this doesn't really leave brush strokes either. And you can see where my the clay that I used was a metallic clay. And like I said, I mixed the colors to go with my original peacock beads. And I'm just gonna put this on there. You can see the shine coming through with the metallic beads once your finish is on there. See the difference? This is the one I did, and this doesn't have it. So let's put the sealer on here, and you can see the difference. Right there's the difference in it. I don't know if the camera's picking that up or not, but it really brings out the shine in these beads. And once this dries, it'll be more matte because the original beads and the ones I'm adding to it are not glossy beads. If you get some glossy beads, and you can put deep shine on this and put it in your UV light to cure it, and you do it the same way. Just put your deep shine on your bead, and you can put your little rhinestone in the same way. But these beads were not very glossy at all, so that's why I decided to use the Super Matte Shine Free finish. I love this stuff. And this doesn't turn yellow like a lot of other Barethane type products does over time. It doesn't peel off. It doesn't crack. And like I said, it dries very, very quickly. No light to dry this. And this is just to add a little something to already purchased beads. There's a lot of beautiful beads out there, and we all can go really crazy with our beads. And I just wanted something a little bit more than what the ones I bought was. I just wanted that little polymer clay accent on them. And I'm going to set these out of the way to dry for a minute. And I'm going to move my little rhinestones so I don't lose them. Stick them up there. Let those beads dry. Now here's my beads in my gold collection. Okay, what you're going to need, for stringing is your, I'm using the Wildfire stringing line, and it's by Beadaholic, and this is 0.008 of an inch, or 0.20 millimeters. That's the string I'm using. I just cut it with my wire cutters about 30 inches long, and I put a bead little holder spring thing, the little spring in there, and you push the ends, the spring comes open, and you put that in there. Here's my crimping tubes. These will go on the wire at the end to hold all the beads in place. Here are my wire guides. They will go with the crimp tubes at the end to hold them in place, and they look like little horseshoes. They have tiny little tubes on each side, and you run your wire up through one tube, around the hoop, and back down the other tube, and then back down through your crimp bead, and we'll get to that. And then I have my crimp beads. I'll get them in gold. And those will cover your crimp tubes, and look like a bead on the end, and you won't know that there's actually a crimp tube and all this other stuff right there together at the end. So it's good to start a little selection of supplies if you're going to be beading. I only need 2 crimp tubes. So let me put the rest of these out. Let me put them in there so I know where they are. Now, another little thing. All of my holes in the beads, can you see that? Are small. Even my little beads and all the beads that came with this peacock set. They're small. But the beads I made are large. So what I'm going to do is put plastic beads in the center so they will hold. And it doesn't matter what color they are. What matters is that they'll fit through your polymer clay bead. And you can do these with wooden beads or any beads that you have that has a larger hole in them than what you're using. I've got 3 of them on there. And I will put my polymer clay bead on there. And I'm going to slide those right in there. And you can't see them at all, but it will help hold the center of my bead. Do I like the flatter ones? They've still got the curve to them. Let's see what this one looks like. It may go up on the polymer clay bead too much. We'll see. I think I like that better. Let me get this started in the center, and then I will clip it off and work from the ends down to the center. And speed that up a little bit, because putting wire through a bead hole is quite boring, or it can be. And remember, all these beads won't be tightened up until you put them all on, get it the length you want, and put your crimp tubes on, and tighten everything up, and then that's when they'll all fit into place. So before then, you can change your mind on anything, change anything around. While I'm still working on this end, let me put this on this end to hold it there so you can see what I'm doing. Get those little beads down in the center and putting that little flap thing on. Now that's what this will look like once it's all beaded with the end caps on there tight. And it just gives the ends that little bit of fancy look. And like I said, your 3 little beads on the inside, that'll help hold this bead center on the wire and balance as it's strung. I finished stringing everything up, This is my end on the end I finished. And this is your crimp bead right here. That little gold one. It goes over top of your crimp tube. And this little horseshoe shaped thing is your wire protector. And my toggle clasp will go on after this. So I finished it up. And that's what's so good. If you're a beginning beader, I'm definitely not an intermediate beader. I'm still learning tricks and tips and everything. But if you buy one of these, I guess they're bead kits that everything matches, then you don't have to worry so much about it all matching and what goes together until you get used to it and get your process down. And makes it a little bit easier, and you can add your own polymer clay beads to it. And I added the dark blue beads to it just to pull in this dark blue and the peacock bead. Okay, I've restrung this twice because I didn't like it, and I finally have it where I liked it. And I started using a beading needle. And it was a little bit simpler since these holes are so small. Another tip is if you use the end caps, like the metal end caps on the end of your polymer clay beads, I will go back and super glue those on after I finish everything. But since the holes were so much larger than the other beads, remember I put 3 small beads in here, and they're hiding inside my polymer clay bead to help it stay on the wire evenly. So if I glue my end caps on now, if they don't stay tight, then my little beads are going to come out and I'll never get it all lined up again. So I'm not going to super glue if I need to until the very end, and then I'll just put a little bit of super glue on the end of these little floret pieces on the filigree and just sort of hold them in place more or less. Okay, let's get started with this end. And don't forget your clips. Since everything I'm dealing with is really small, I'm going to use the needle again. Here's all my little itty bitty pieces. I'm first going to put on a crimping tube. And this is the last step to your necklace before your clasp. This is what brings it all together. Now I'm going to put on my wire protector and go up this side of it where the little tube is. And pull everything through there. Go back down the tube on the other side of the wire protector. Rethread my needle. I'm going to pull it down to my crimp tube and go back through my crimp tube. And believe it or not, this is where the beading needle really comes in handy. And I'm going to go down a couple of beads with the wire so it will be hidden after I cut it. So this is what I want. My crimp bead is after my blue, my crimp tube, excuse me, is after my blue one right there, that little tiny thing right there. And there's my wire protector. And I'm going to pull them tight, not tight, 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 but pull them tight enough to where they all fit. Make sure that it's all the way down to where it needs to be so my beads won't move. Then I'm going to take my crimping pliers. And the crimping pliers has little indentations in them. See how they're not straight? I'm going to go to my bottom one, where those little indentations are, and I'm going to press once. And that's going to flatten out my crimp tube right there. Then I'm going to go into it sideways on the next one up of my indentations and press it again, and that's where it just like smashes all up against everything. See it right there? It's all smashed. And I cannot pull. I'm going to tug on it. I cannot pull anything apart, so that means it's done. Now I'm going to slide that gap right over top of my crimping tube and press down lightly. But I want to get that crimping bead closed. The gap will close up and it'll look like a bead at the end. And your crimping tube is hidden and nobody will ever know it's there. I'm going to cut off my excess wire that I brought down through the beads. And here's this end. Now before I add my toggle clasp, I am going to add several jump rings because I feel like a toggle clasp needs some room to be able to function correctly, and you get your fingers around it right and have it work right and be easier for you to use. So I'm going to use my smallest one first, and I think you all know about jump rings. My jump ring is in there this way. I'm going to open it front to back. And there's also a jump ring you can use. Instead of 2 sets of pliers, you stick it over your finger and use it. Okay, you're going to close your jump ring back the same way and bypass it a little bit to where it goes to the other side and bring it back, and it will actually click. It might be a slight click, but it will click. So let me move this jump ring out of the way and do my next size up. And my bigger one I'm going to put on there now. So I've done a fairly small jump ring, and then a medium one, and then a little bit larger one. And I want to hook the medium one on the smaller one. My larger one will be on the end. And my larger one's what I'm going to hang on to my toggle clasp. And it doesn't matter which end you put on which end, but I find the toggle clasp are easy to undo when you're taking your necklaces on and off. Now I already have the smaller one on jump ring on this end. Open up front to back. And put the bigger one on, the bigger jump ring on there. And attach it to your smaller one. Put that on there. Come back to the larger one. And you don't have to use different size jump rings to do this. Just, you know, use whatever you have. And that end of the toggle clasp is on. And you slide the bar through the circle. And there you go. So here's the end of the necklace. And here's your necklace. I will move all this stuff and zoom out so you can see the whole thing at one time. One other thing that I did want to mention, if you're going to use the metal bead caps on the ends like this, and you've got larger beads and they're curving too much and you need them a little bit flatter, I mentioned earlier to use a pair of silicone based pliers. You can put metals in here and gently squeeze on them, and it doesn't mar your metal, and so you can flatten them out easier. So let me get all this out of the way. Well, let's put it that way and see if that helps. Yeah. There's my necklace. And I'll go back on some of these and glue the metal end caps on the polymer clay beads. But there it is. It's really simple. It's cute. Didn't take a lot of time to do. And if you need a quick gift, this could be it, because it doesn't take long to make these beads. Or you could use the wooden beads. Pandora has out a wooden bead kit now. So everybody's into summertime, and these are summer colors. So maybe you can find these peacock beads like I did 5 years ago and make something with them. But get you a set of beads and get started, just to give you some ideas of where to go with it. So I really appreciate you watching this and supporting the design team. It means a lot to us to have everybody support us, because we love doing videos for you all. So I'll see you next time. Blessings.